Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Split Stroke Month. This is week 2. If you haven't seen lesson 1, then don't worry, this lesson is self-contained, but if you'd like a little bit more context into why I'm releasing these videos, then do make sure you watch video number 1. That's a little bit more of an introduction. But today we're going to learn the split stroke in the context of a waltz, and we're going to learn a little bit of chord melody as well. So what I've done is I've taken the bare minimum, the bare rules, the foundations of the traditional split stroke that is associated with George Formby and all of those other jazz players. I've recontextualised it into a chord melody classical waltz, which I'm going to teach you today. And we're going to see how this song breaks the rules and pushes the boundaries of the split stroke, which not only will give you a nice little chord melody tune to be able to play, but perhaps will be an inspiration for you as a composer to take the ideas of the split stroke and see how you can reinterpret them in your own ways. I'd be very interested to see any compositions that are made during this style or any of the other styles we're going to explore during this month. If you do come up with something, then please link it in the comments below. I'd be very interested to open a wider community discussion about this. So there we are, a very short piece, and if you want to download the free PDF to this song, please do that at the link in the description. Take a moment to read through it all, and then come back to this video and we'll begin the lesson. Hi, this is the Formby Fundamentals course, with me, Matthew Quilliam. I've been studying and playing the George Formby style pretty much all of my ukulele playing career, ever since I was 11 years old. Since then I've gained a deep understanding into the mechanics of how all of the Formby style works, and in the last few years I've been teaching workshops and private students about how to play the Formby style, and so I've got a lot of experience and know-how as to how to get across all of this information to you in the most fun, approachable and accessible way. This is the course for you if you've never played George Formby before, or maybe just a little bit and you're feeling a little bit lost, and by the end of the course you'll be able to play a coherent George Formby style solo. Through 2 hours of videos split up across 40 lessons and 7 modules, this is a step-by-step guide from getting you from zero to being able to play a really great sounding George Formby solo. So head over to matthewquilliam.co.uk to begin your ukulele journey today. So first of all, let's remind ourselves of a basic split stroke component. That is a 3-note figure which involves a full down strum of the complete string set. Then we have an upwards motion like we're going to do an up strum, but we only catch the bottom string, or the top string I should say, the string closest to the ground. So our hand still finishes above the string set like we've done an up strum, but we only caught one string. And then we do a final bounce or a flick on the string closest to the ceiling. Sometimes if you catch another string like I just did, that's okay too. But for this, really try and focus on single strings for these little movements. So just practice that if you need to. Full down, then catch the string, the A string, and then a flick of the G string. Full down, A, G. Full down, A, G. Down, A, G. Down, A, G. Down, A, G. Fantastic. That is a traditional Formby split, that rhythm, duh, duh, duh. And that rhythm is normally half beats. Traditionally, those notes would be quavers, or eighth notes. That is to say, a bar full of 4 beats divided in 2, so you have 8 notes. Each of those would be one of those strums. However, we're going to look at this in terms of a waltz. So the first thing we've done is we've stretched this component out from eighth notes to quarter notes. So each of these actually lasts a whole beat. Therefore, we're aiming for a sort of slightly slower tempo than the traditional split stroke style. So if you're used to the Formby style, today we're going to take things a lot slower, which is good because it means that we can learn a new style at a nice, comfortable tempo. You'll also know that we tend to play around the nut, but you may have seen in the playthrough that we actually venture quite high up the fretboard. Don't worry, I'll take you through it as we go, but that's another way that we're stretching the boundaries of the split stroke. And the final thing as well is, melodically speaking, when we're tapping away for our Formby style solos, sticking around the nut and playing these scalic descending melodic lines, da 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 da. But here our melody goes up. We're climbing throughout the melody. So those are just some ways in which this piece is differentiated from traditional split stroke ideals. Now the first line and the third line are identical, so let's go over those first, seeing as that makes up half the song. You're going to need to know the chords E7, 1, 2, 0, 2, then A major, which we normally play 2, 1, 0, 0, and that comes up later, but we need to learn a variation of it, which also has a finger on the 4th fret of the string closest to the ground, the A string. So we've got 2, 1, 0, 4. Now, we need to climb this time all the way up to the 4th fret for a complete bar of every single string. But we also need to stretch a finger to the 5th fret and the 7th fret of the A string. Normally, if we're playing this chord, which is another way to play an E chord, we wouldn't have a finger on the 7th and the 5th frets at the same time, because it doesn't make a difference whether that lower finger is there or not. But you'll see why it's useful to have both ready to go in a moment. Those are the 3 chords we're going to need for this first and third line of the song. And just play your normal split stroke style. So you do a full down strum, then you catch the string closest to the ground, and then you tap the string closest to the ceiling. That is our first bar. What is it? Well, we're actually taking our finger off after the first strum. So normal E7, then that finger on the A string comes completely off, so then we end up catching the A string as an open note, and then tapping the G string as normal with the finger still on the 1st fret. So you get this nice little melody. Da, da, da. Then we hear that as a sequence transposed higher, da, 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 based over an A chord. So we start with that A chord with the 4th finger down for our full strum, then we lift the 4th finger off and we put down the 2nd fret for our little catch of the A string, and then our G string as normal, just a little flick there. So let's put those 2 bars together first of all. 1, 2, 3. And again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's come to the 3rd bar. This is by far the most complex bar so far, but luckily the following bar, the 4th bar, is very simple, just 3 E7 down strums. That acts as our little rhythmic break. But 3rd bar, we've got the same split idea, da, 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 but that final bounce is delayed a little bit later. It's not da, 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 but da, da, da. So bear that rhythm in mind. Now let's go to our E chord with both of those fingers on the A string plus a full bar on the 4th fret. You do your full down strum and then you remove the little finger to expose the 5th fret. Now this is why I said have both of those fingers down rather than just have one at a time. You've got to put one down and one up at the same time, a bit like a seesaw, otherwise I don't like it. If you've got both down to start with, you've got half the work to do, you just take one finger off. Just like that. Then after a little pause to allow for our delayed note to come a little bit later, once we get there, we need to put a finger down on the 6th fret of the G string. This is the first time we manipulate the notes on the G string in this song. So this is a little bit of an unusual shape that you'll find yourself in. Bar the 4th fret, you've got a finger on the 6th fret of the G string, and still that finger from the previous note on the 5th fret of the A string. So this is what it looks like so far. Pause that. Very sort of quick to say. So let's put that with the whole line. Remembering, of course, that the last line... So let's put that whole line together now. Remembering that the last bar is just 3 E7 chords. 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Remember as well that that is the 3rd line as well as the 1st. But you'll be pleased to know that the first half of the 2nd line is identical to the first half of the 1st and 3rd line, as is the case with the 4th line as well. So basically the first half of every single line is exactly the same. It's just these later halves that differ. So 2nd half of the 2nd line, we're going all the way up to the 7th fret for a bar, complete bar. Then add a finger, preferably your middle finger, on the 8th fret of the C string, and you want another finger, your ring finger, on the 9th fret of the A string. This is known, this shape, as a 9th shape. Luckily we have a little bit less manoeuvring to do, because all we have to do is lift off that ring finger. And again, that last note is delayed. Da da da. It's not da da da. It's da da da. So just practice that a few times. And then same rhythm as the 4th bar of the previous line, but this time on that A chord with the 4th fret and the A string down. So those 2 bars together. One, 2, 3. And put that whole line together and you get 1, 2, 3. Now, again, we've got the 3rd line, which is the same as the 1st, so we've just got the last line to learn. And in fact, again, it's just the last half, isn't it? Because the first half is the same as all the others. So we've got that final 2 bars to go, and this time we're doing a full bar of the 4th fret with a finger down on the 5th fret, which then comes off for that half up strum, and then it's a flick, a delayed bounce on the G string again, and then an A chord to finish. So quite simple in comparison to the rest. Now don't worry if that's sort of gone in and then gone out again. Don't forget there is that PDF that you can download in the description. Use this video and use the PDF with the tabs and the notation to go over and over till you've got it at a nice tempo, and then you can play along with me one more time now. 1, 2, 3. as a little extension, something you really want to work on is the over-ringing of notes. The classical word for this is campanella, which is an Italian word for little bell, which refers to little bells over-ringing, which is what we get with these sorts of figures. If you listen to the melody, it's all happening at the same time. If I wanted this melody to happen on 1 or 2 strings, all the notes happen one at a time, but because they're presented within this split stroke setting, where the notes are happening pretty much at the same time on these 2 outer strings, they can clash and create this nice over-ringing effect, which again is very prominent and a very popular compositional trend at the moment. So we can sort of use the split stroke, which was once a jazz style, and now it's a classical technique as well. So once again, I'll finish up by saying that if you find this video inspirational and you want to create your own pieces using some of the ideas we've explored today, then please let me know. I'd love to see and hear your compositions. Let me know what you've come up with in the comments. So that's it from me, for this week anyway. Next week we'll be looking at something quite different, but still within our split stroke month theme. I'll see you over there. And don't forget, if you want to watch part 1, you can catch up right here, right now. I'll see you over there.